I told my fiance about my past, and she's not happy about it.
What'd you get up to?
I, 26 male, am a pretty successful graphic designer. I was already working from home for a lot of projects for a long time before everyone started self-quarantining and practicing social distancing. While I am definitely not part of the essential workforce, I have still managed to find some work to keep me busy. By the way, this comes from Clownfu. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. My fiance, 26 female, has been furloughed from work and as such has been staying home with me, and we've been spending a lot of quality time together. One night we were having fun and joking together, and I jokingly said that everyone does weird things for money when they're in school, like start an Etsy or sell feet pics. She joked back and fake accused me of selling substances. I told her it wasn't anything illegal, illicit, nothing related to spicy sleep or substances, but then accidentally let it slip that it was just embarrassing to me personally. And then after a second, she stopped laughing because it became real. We talked about it, and I said I didn't want to talk about it because it's super embarrassing.
Dude,
and it isn't who I am at all.
Nah, but now you've set it up like
You
that,
gotta
and
say it.
I'm only gonna be thinking about this until you tell me.
She said that she understood and gave me my space about it for a couple of days. But after that couple of days, she seemed uncomfortable. And when I asked her about it, she admitted she was concerned about what I did for money. I told her it wasn't anything huge. I really just didn't want to talk about it, and I wished her to respect that and to trust me. But I could tell her not knowing was beginning to genuinely upset her. That night, I thought long and hard that this is the woman I want to marry, and I should be open about my past. So relented and told her the truth. I used to be a clown. She was unhappy that it was something I hid from her, but it was a period of my life over the course of 2.5 months and about 12 parties. She has been cold to me since, and that really sucks because we have been spending a lot of time together and we aren't really talking as much as we have been. From what I understand, she's probably more upset that I had to be pressed to tell her than admit to her of my own volition, and I think I may have violated her trust. Honestly, the clown thing just never came up because who talks about their part-time jobs from almost 5 years ago? It's not on my resume, and it was before we started dating, but I did end up sitting down with her and telling her everything. Now I'm so scared that was a mistake because of how she's acting now. She hasn't told anyone, and though we haven't really argued either, but now I'm wondering if I'm just reading into how she's acting and obsessing over this new piece of information I put into her world. It feels like there's a new distance between us. Now, I wasn't hiding the fact that I was a semi-professional clown out of malice. I wasn't part of any unions or anything, just kind of a performer for hire, but more out of embarrassment because it's far and away from the type of work I do and the person I am today. Honestly, it's not a dark period of my life or anything, and I think the story itself is interesting. I'm one of those types that thinks some bad decisions can make good stories to a degree, but it's not something I like to talk about because while it is an objectively fun story, it doesn't have a particularly good ending. My act was very specific and weird. Only 2 or 3 friends know about it, I think, because they were at the party where I got the idea to perform as a clown for money. And I literally just used the same costume from that party for my acts. All things considered, I was pretty successful for what amounted to some weekend gigs. I didn't want it to be something weird that would follow me for the rest of my life, so I was secretive about it for those couple of months. I was always paid in cash, never checked, and this was before electronic payments were huge, as in I didn't have Venmo or do PayPal. Surprisingly, made a few $1,000s.
Are we sure he's a clown?
I mean, few
Well,
thousand
he made
dollars.
a few $1,000s
From 12
from 12,
parties.
yeah.
No, that's totally normal.
Yeah,
I
let's say he's
He
doing
was
like
making less
100
than 100 a day.
Yeah, like 100 for each party.
I need to
That
know
makes
what he was
sense.
doing as a clown because, like, I did like a very specific thing as a clown. Like,
What was
there's
your
only
very-
so many things you can do as a
If
clown.
this man is a stilt walker too,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have
He's like,
some
"I'm so
choice words for
embarrassed."
you, buddy. That I had put towards some of the fun things I own, game systems, electric skateboard, etc. But I stopped when that terrifying clown hoax of 2016 was happening and heard that people were getting ready to gang up and beat up clowns. So I thought it was best to cash out and hang up the clown costume, so to speak. Also, because I know it'll be asked, back in uni, I was an athlete as well. Kind of. I was part of a martial arts club where we would perform martial arts choreography choreography at certain school events. It was kind of like color guard, but with the old 1-2ing. When I told Fiancée this during our first few months of dating, she made fun of me relentlessly for days, but she ultimately thought it was kind of cool. Anyway, I put that athleticism in my act where I'd break boards and do some parkour, but I'd also do some clown stuff like smack myself in the face with whipped cream in a dollar store pie crust and talk in a stupid voice and trip. It was fun because I was making little kids laugh and impressing them more than I was scaring them.
There's nothing embarrassing about this.
That's like wholesome. Your fiancé would be like, "Oh, you like?"
I'd be like, "That's so cool.
That's so sweet.
Can you do it?"
Sometimes I'd get a parent involved and have them steal my clown nose and run away, and I'd trip and fall chasing them at first, which would set up the parkour chase scene of my act after I put some distance between us. By the way, it's hard to convince big dads that yes, I will absolutely catch up to you, and it will be much faster than you think. The kids love the act, and I learned I would generally get paid more if I involved the family, with plenty of warning beforehand of what I was capable of. I never, ever advertised this. You should have.
You should have. You would have made so much more money.
You could be doing this full time.
Yeah.
This was just word of mouth, and I think all of my clients knew each other in some way and knew me as basically a friend of a friend. And we have an editor's note. Oh, that includes some info on the clown sighting / panic of 2016. HDTV 123. Dude, why are you acting like being a clown is on par with serial unalivings as a part-time job? I personally would have found that super funny and endearing.
Yeah.
I think your girl's reaction is really weird and uncalled for. Cranberry 94. I don't think the girl is upset because he was a clown. I think it's more that he wouldn't tell her and let her imagination run wild, probably feeling anxious for days, and all for something so minor. If my fiancé didn't trust me enough that he refused to disclose that he was a clown, I'd find that upsetting. Kujaichi. Yeah, let's be honest. With that build-up, my first thought totally would have been a spicy dancer and or call boy. And frankly, I'd also probably been a bit put off by the fact that he didn't just say it, but made me think who knows what for days and everything. It's just extremely weird. And OP talks about how he got into being a clown. Well, to be fair, I didn't do it because I was hurting for money. It started out as a favor to a friend that ended up snowballing into a paying gig that paid for some fun toys and knickknacks and a whole lot of pizzas. I know that it wasn't her intent to make me feel ashamed of it, and I don't hold it against her. Also, the other comments have pointed out she basically might just be getting stir crazy, which we have talked about happening. And it's more that I did it for a short period of time, and it was in a time of my life, an entrepreneurial 21-year-old, where I did a lot of dumb and weird crap, and I attribute my brief stint as a clown as one of the weirder ones that is largely unbelievable. Wow, so I wasn't expecting this to blow up as much as it did, or like at all. I have spent a lot of my workday, work from home, reading all the comments and replies and tweets. Fiancé and I sat down and talked about it. I told her about this post because I was genuinely concerned about what I should do in this situation, and I have a bad habit of making jokes about bad situations sometimes, but we had a civil discussion. She told me that the reason she was acting distant was because, like some of you said, she thought I was lying about the clown thing.
Yeah, because why would she, like, you literally wouldn't tell her for so long. She's like, well, he must be lying, because there's no reason he would keep that a secret.
The reason I was embarrassed about it is because I didn't fully commit to it. No matter how it is phrased, telling someone you were a party clown for 3 months either gets met with, wow, that's cool, or holy crap, what a lie. And she, like so many of you, went with the latter. So we talked about it like adults. I calmly explained that I was not lying and that the story is stupid and inconsequential. But the circumstance in general of being a clown from start to finish is unbelievable in a way. I got the idea of being a clown at a costume party when a former friend told a wasted me he thought my costume was fun and that I should be a clown for his nephew's birthday party. I thought he was joking until he actually contacted me about it the next Saturday and said he'd pay me $100 to $200 for the whole day. Being 21, that's a lot of scratch for being an idiot for a bit, so I did it, and then it just turned into a thing. I told her I stopped being a clown because I didn't want it to get out that I was one so publicly, and it was around the time I kept seeing posts on Twitter and Tumblr about people getting together to go hunt clowns, and I felt that even if it was fake, the chance of it being real and it happening to me was not really one I wanted to take. It was fun for a bit. If I had been a clown for like half a year, I'd probably tell more people about it, but doing it for a short period of time comes off as kind of a lie. If you need proof, literally read half the comments on this post. My fiance is not crazy and high maintenance. She's normal. A little wild sometimes and kind of cooped up here, but I love her all the same. By the way, I love you. If you go listen to full episodes with stories just like this, just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app and search OK Storytime. Anyway, she believes me, which I'm grateful for. I apologized for not telling her sooner, and she apologized for pressing me to talk about something so clearly weirdly polarizing. Like, really, this wasn't so much a post asking you all to take sides in the matter, like you are all so seemingly ready to do, but more like asking advice on what I should do to try and bridge the gap in communication. She still seems to have some reservations, so I promised her that I would try and do my act for her in the park when the quarantine is lifted.
Heck yeah, that's what I like to hear.
She asked me to do it for her now, but I told her our apartment is too small and filled with things that might break. I talked to her in my clown voice, and she hated it because she said it, in her words, sounds like Goofy on speed. Thank you, everyone. And we have some final comments. iFlap21 says, also, I sense that it was probably more difficult for you to come clean about this, since when you told her about the martial arts thing, her first reaction was to mock and ridicule you for days. I would honestly understand you hesitating to open up that part of your life to someone who is so willing and happy to make you the butt of the joke. And OP says, thank you, you understand. For us, it's water under the bridge, and she has since apologized. And we watch martial arts movies together, sometimes at her suggestion, which is also another reason among the list of many I asked her to marry me.
Whoa.
Keela Earworm, have you brought up to her the fact that she made fun of you relentlessly for doing martial arts might have played a part in your reluctance to tell her about this part of your life? If you want to be trusted with information, you have to act in a trustworthy manner. OP says, this comment was actually really insightful, and she read the comment and brought it up in our conversation. Thank you for your input, truly.
It was a great end. We figured it out. I loved that. I chose my cat over my boyfriend, and I don't regret a thing.
Your cat's probably cooler.
And this comes directly from the OK Storytime subreddit. Also, trigger warning for verbal and emotional abuse. I, 30 female, left my ex, 31 male. We'll call him Leo, almost 2 years ago now. The only thing I really regret the most is not doing it sooner. We had met when I was 17 through my at-the-time boyfriend. They were coworkers that became friends to some degree. When me and that guy broke up, Leo was there for me. By the way, this comes from Far Priority 8472, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. Eventually, we started dating back in 2014, and things were good for a few months. I should have ended the relationship then, and if I had a time machine, I wouldn't have even gotten with him in the first place. But I was young, dumb, and the heart wanted what it wanted. And I guess I felt like I deserved what happened to some degree at the time, but hindsight is 20/20, so they say. I caught him spicy texting with another female, confronted him, and his excuse was he did it because he felt like I had cheated on him when I went to stay with my best friend, we'll call her Kayla, and her mom for a week, even though we were going to come get him that weekend so we could still spend the weekend together because he worked during the week and Kayla lived out of town. During that week, he threw a witch fit, calling me, yelling at me, in which Kayla took the phone from me and hung up on him. Good. So we didn't go get him that weekend. Me and her had a blast hanging out, and I returned home the next week. I told him I didn't cheat on him because I honestly hadn't and wouldn't. And he apologized, told me how sorry he was and that he wouldn't ever do it again. But that was a lie. The relationship was on again, off again a lot. He'd tell me some of his friends didn't like me, that his parents didn't like me. Yes, I had met his family. His parents didn't speak English, so there was a bit of a language barrier for me communicating with them. But his siblings all spoke English and their parents' native language, so they helped me when I needed to communicate with them. Although I never really did find out if they did or didn't like me, or how they felt about me, except from through their actions. And honestly, he didn't like most of my friends, and they didn't like him either. I was friends with his friends and guys, but as it turns out, most of the guys I was friends with had crushes on me at one point or another, but I was in a relationship, albeit on and off again, with Leo, so those never went anywhere. And the few friends I had that were girls that I really stayed in contact with after high school didn't like the way he treated me. He would try to be controlling over who I hung out with, so I hardly got to see my friends that were girls, and I didn't really hang out with guys unless it was his friends, and that was only when I was with him. And even then, I wouldn't do it all the time. which that part I was fine with anyways. But I was definitely not going to stop hanging out with my friends that were girls just because he didn't like them. Good on you, OP. Because obviously this is not a healthy relationship, but it's good that you're not letting him, isolate you completely. 2016 rolls around and his family decides they're going to be out of state. The day after, or of, I don't really remember, we found out they were moving, so I went with him back to his parents' place because him and his whole family would be moving to spend the last few days with him and help him pack his stuff. Well, a night or two before the day they were moving, he got wasted, got upset with me while we were talking, and things got messy. Right after that happened, he realized that he effed up. He started apologizing and he knew he was in the wrong 100%. For some odd, stupid reason, I forgave him. We said our goodbyes to each other, but we agreed to still talk to see about working things out and trying to do a long distance relationship. It wasn't easy for either of us. It was on again and off again because of that now.
You gotta be on again, off again.
You gotta be so strong to go into a long distance relationship. You gotta be so tight because it's hard.
It's hard.
From everyone I've known who's done it, it's hard and takes a lot of work. And if you guys are already on and off again and he's already really, cheated on you, at that point it's like, okay, we gotta call it. After a couple more years, he moved back to be with me because of not being able to handle the long distance thing. We lived with my mom for a bit, then my mom moved. My oldest brother got the house and was fixing it up while he and his family lived in another place. So he let me and Leo rent the house from him while he fixed it up. It was our first time living on our own together and things were good for a while. I was doing everything we could to save up to eventually get our own place for when my brother was done fixing the house up and they could move in. We'd move out at that time until things took a hard turn. We had gotten into a literally tiny argument when we went to go do laundry, and I thought we had fixed that issue because I had apologized. Turns out I was wrong because he held on to that anger he had from the argument, which
healthy.
is not your fault because he's holding a grudge and not talking to you about it. After we were back home, he got on his game with some of his friends and started drinking. They were having a good time at first until he kept drinking where he got blackout wasted. Then his anger switch flipped, took it out on his friends, and when I got back in the room, I tried calming him down until he started talking crap about my family, which I knew he didn't mean, so he started talking crap about me and it got messy again. Neighbors saw through the window and thankfully called the cops. At that time, I was pissed because the cops broke the front door, but at the time they showed up, I had calmed him down and he was finally starting to come out from being blackout wasted. I packed some stuff and went to stay with Kayla. Leo spent some time in the wasted tank and eventually got out. So he got arrested. Dang.
Yeah, break up.
Break up. If your partner's getting arrested based off an argument that your neighbors overheard, absolutely break up. My brother told me we had to move out, so I decided to move in with Kayla and her mom. Leo went to stay with one of his friends. Don't ask me why, but I helped get him out of trouble with the law for what he had done. I still loved him at the time and didn't believe that what he did was really his self. At the time, he was wasted AF again. Me and Leo still talked and saw each other when we could and worked on things yet again. Then he decided he wanted to move back in with his parents and he wanted me to come too. Don't. At least that's what he told me at the time. Later, he would claim he should have left me back in my home state. So I moved with him to a different state, away from all my family and friends. And here comes the isolation.
Great.
My only friends were his sisters and my cat Garfield, who I had raised since he was a baby. And he's also my emotional support as he's been with me through almost everything. Things didn't exactly get better when we moved in with his family. Found out he was cheating on me again.
Shocker.
He would drink more and his parents didn't like that he drank, so he'd hide it from them but still acted out in a way that they knew he was drinking. Now I have health issues that I've had since I was young, and Leo knew this. He didn't like the fact, but he helped me with them in most cases until he didn't. He'd start throwing a fit because of them, especially if I had to go to the hospital because of the health issues. He would take me to my doctors and to get my meds until he stopped doing that too. I would tell him when I had appointments and he'd get that day off to be able to take me. Then the night before, stay up late drinking and still be up drinking when it came time to go. So I'd have to waste money to get an Uber or Lyft to and from my appointments. Sometimes he'd pay for it, but still, it was a waste of money when he knew in advance about the appointments and had the gas in his car. I couldn't drive at the time as I was trying to get my license, but now I can't drive because of more health problems. I eventually told him I was thinking about leaving and moving back to my home state. Promised he would start treating me better, so I decided to stay and give it one last shot with him. No, he did treat me better for a bit, but after a few months, it was back to the same things, and I started falling out of love with him. But everything came to a head when his parents said we had to get rid of all the cats, or that we would have to start paying a pet deposit to the landlord. I only had Garfield. They had so many more cats. I talked with his sisters and him to try and get them to translate for me to his parents that I would pay the deposit for Garfield and a few of their cats, along with getting the cat food and litter for them if I could keep Garfield. But none of them would do it. Not even Leo. So I got a hold of my mom and Kayla and started making plans to get the heck out of there with Garfield ASAP. I thought I would have until after Halloween to get everything ready, but plans had to get moved up as Kayla had gotten 3 days off in a row without having to request it. So they came and got me ASAP, which makes sense because Kayla was one of the friends who was like,
yeah,
this is not good.
No, the second that friend got that call, she was like, I'm coming.
She's like,
I'll get that time.
No, she probably
right
didn't even
now.
she probably didn't even like.
I could totally even just see her being like, I need these days.
Like, I'm leaving. Sorry, I gotta go.
Gone.
The night before I left, I told him I would be leaving the next day. He claims I chose a cat over him. And dang right I did, and I'll do it again. Every time. Garfield is my baby, and I was not going to give him up. If I had to stay there without Garfield, I would have gone insane. So yes, I chose my cat and my health over that POS. By the way, it would be good for your health to listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. I now am living with my mom again while I work on getting my health, both mental and physical, better. I'm going to therapy for my depression, anxiety, and PTSD, which he is the reason for the PTSD.
Great.
Oh, I'm taking time out from dating still because of everything and just trying to live a happy life. I have my family, friends, and Garfield, and that's honestly all I need right now to get through this. Thankfully. Side note, turns out they ended up keeping all the cats they had and even ended up with more cats as well. Then he tried to guilt trip me for him doing substances, even sent me a pic of the supposed rock, and I cut all contact with him right then and there. I was done being manipulated by him and no longer had to put up with any of his BS, so I blocked him on everything. I do, however, still talk to his younger sister, whom I still consider my friend, because she never did me wrong, unlike him or anyone else in their family. She actually helped me when I needed to get away from him and was there for me through a lot of his BS and abuse. Edit, it's not really that I don't want to date, it's that every time I even think of trying to start dating again, the PTSD and anxiety get worse. I start to feel like I deserve everything that happened in that relationship, and I know I probably didn't, but the thoughts start and won't stop. I'm still glad I got out of that relationship somewhat safely, as soon as I could while getting my cat out with me, but lately I feel broken. Any advice would be appreciated.
Perhaps some therapy for yourself.
Yeah,
For your
it's gonna take a minute. It's not
things.
an easy process.